You're joining me from Tianhe district in Guangzhou. Today I'm just going to give you a little bit of an update about what is happening here in Guangzhou, because if you've been watching the news, if you have been paying attention to what's been happening in China recently, then you'll know that over the last couple of weeks, Guangzhou has actually experienced a minor outbreak of COVID-19. So I just want to do a live vlog so that I can show you what's going on here on the streets of Guangzhou, and give you a few facts and figures and some information about what's actually happening here in the city. So firstly, as you can see here in Tianhe district of Guangzhou, life basically is continuing as normal, although everybody is wearing a mask. Everybody is taking the necessary precautions to keep themselves safe. So I'll just give you a little bit of a background story as to what actually happened and how this outbreak, or this minor outbreak, actually began, because keep in mind that Guangdong Province has a population of over 100 million people, and over the last couple of weeks, since last month, the province, Guangdong Province, has recorded around just over 100 cases. So that includes people who have been hospitalised for COVID-like symptoms. It also includes people who are asymptomatic but have tested positive for COVID-19, and it also includes confirmed cases. So here in China, the way that COVID numbers are categorized is a little bit different to in other countries. So here, basically, they do separate asymptomatic cases and confirmed cases, because sometimes you can get somebody who has COVID-like symptoms and is hospitalized but hasn't been tested yet. So when they announced an asymptomatic case, that means that somebody has been identified as someone who could possibly have COVID-19 but hasn't returned a test result yet. And also at the same time, it's sort of important, or it's seen as important, to differentiate between confirmed cases and asymptomatic cases, because a lot of people believe that in order to have the need to seek medical help, you need to have COVID-like symptoms. But as we all know now, you can be asymptomatic and still have COVID-19. So as for today, Guangdong Province recorded 4 new cases of COVID-19. Keep in mind, Guangdong Province has a population of over 100 million. So even, over a period of a couple of weeks, 100 or so cases is really not a massive outbreak when you put it in perspective. So today, 4 confirmed cases, new confirmed cases. Also 2 cases that were previously classified as asymptomatic cases have been reclassified as confirmed cases. That's in Guangdong. So that's the situation so far. Here in Guangzhou, the city is not in lockdown. So I've seen that, people have been searching for the Guangzhou lockdown. The city is not actually in lockdown. It is still open, but in order to leave Guangzhou, you need to get a nucleic acid test result within 48 hours, and it needs to be negative. So that's required to leave Guangdong Province from Guangzhou or Foshan via the airport, or via a train station, or via a coach station. So Guangzhou certainly is not in lockdown, but certain parts of the city are under what they call closed management. So they're not completely locked down because you can still enter those areas, but if you enter those areas, then you can't leave those areas. So basically that is for people who perhaps maybe went to work in the morning, found out that their street that they were living on had been closed off, and then they were then able to make the decision whether they wanted to return home and ride out the closed off management period or stay away from that area. So that's the situation in Liwan district. A couple of streets there. That's sort of west of Guangzhou. The situation in the rest of the city. Well, so far, as of 2 days ago, the city had conducted 20 million COVID-19 tests, which is a staggering number when you think about it, because the population of Guangzhou is not even 20 million. So some people had been tested more than once, including myself, simply for work reasons or other reasons which I'll talk about a little bit later. The neighboring city of Foshan, they had tested 10 million people as of, they had conducted 10 million COVID-19 tests as of yesterday, but testing is still continuing in Guangzhou and Foshan. Another city, Zhongshan, which is not too far from Guangzhou, they've conducted around 6 million tests, as far as I'm aware, and all of this testing took place in literally days. So it was quite impressive to see how they managed to put this all together. For those of you who follow my Twitter, you can see a video of a COVID-19 testing site, a temporary testing site that had been set up downstairs from where I live, and people were just lining up for COVID-19 tests for free. So most of the testing has been provided for free. Some people have chosen to go to private hospitals or go to medical clinics and pay for testing, although the cost of having those tests done is quite low, and usually if you pay for a test, then the result will come back a little bit quicker. I'm sorry for people who are leaving comments and asking questions. This is the first time that I've actually done a live stream on my phone, so they kind of pop up really quickly and then disappear. So I apologize if I'm not answering any questions, but I'll try to when they do pop up. Now, so yes, Yangwei to Taiwan. Okay, so the numbers are very transparent now in Guangzhou, because they are all automatic. It all goes into a system, and it's all automated. So basically, once you do a test, they scan your ID number, your ID card if you're a Chinese national, or your passport if you are a foreign national, and the results are associated with your passport or your ID number, and then also with your WeChat account. So basically I can open my WeChat account and I can see my latest COVID-19 test results straight away. So this morning I went to get tested. I worked at home today because yesterday afternoon at about 5 p.m. I received a text message to my phone telling me that I had been in a location where either an asymptomatic or a confirmed COVID patient had been, and that I needed to go and get a COVID-19 test if I hadn't had a test within the previous 72 hours. And unluckily for me, the last test that I did prior to that was 84 hours prior to that. So basically I thought better to be safe than sorry. I got up this morning at 9 a.m. I went to the hospital and I got a COVID-19 test done. I'm still waiting for the results, but my health code is still green. So currently the rules are, if your health code is green, then you are advised to avoid crowds if you receive that text message, but you are still allowed to move around. So you're still allowed to leave your house, you're still allowed to go shopping for whatever you need. But if your health code turns yellow, then you need to stay home until your COVID test returns negative, and then you can go back out or back to work. But yesterday, when I received that text message, I sent a screenshot to work and I told them that I had received the text message, and they asked me to work from home today. Just, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? So at the moment, I'm currently waiting for my test result to return. I'm quite sure that it will be negative, because apart from work and home, I really haven't been anywhere. I also usually stay quite close to home, so this is Tianhe district, and as you can see behind me, I don't know if you can see, I usually stay around this area. Wish I could stay in the chat. Lots of familiar people here. Gotta go. Okay, thank you very much, Vlad, for joining us, for joining this live stream. Much appreciated. So basically, at the moment, it's been a little bit sad to see what has happened in Guangzhou, because a similar thing is actually happening in Melbourne in Australia at the moment. So the state of Victoria and the city of Melbourne in Australia is currently under lockdown because of similar case numbers as we've seen in Guangdong Province. Now, the reason why I say it's sad is because, you know, sometimes it's just a case of, you know, a few people returning positive results, and then everybody is affected. So basically, you know, if you are told to isolate or wear a mask, then please do, because obviously that is going to prevent any spread if the COVID-19 virus does get through the cracks and impacts wherever you are living at the moment. Because before the latest small outbreak here in Guangdong had been recording numbers sporadically, but they were all within quarantine among international arrivals. And as for the virus that has been detected in Guangzhou, they have analyzed the genome sequence and have determined that it is the Delta variant of the virus, which, as we all know, is an extremely contagious variant of the virus. Now, earlier I mentioned that even though Guangzhou has completed around 20 million tests as of 2 days ago, testing is still continuing. Because, thank you very much, YGZ, for being here. It's been a pleasure seeing your comments, even though I wasn't fast enough to react to them. I've lost my train of thought now. Anyway, so it's the Delta variant here in Guangzhou. In Shenzhen, it's a different variant, and they have identified that it was linked to the Yantian port in Shenzhen. So that recently just reopened after total disinfection. Hey Mikey, thank you very much for joining me on my first outdoor live stream as I give some updates about what's happening here in Guangzhou. Now, the first patient that was identified in Guangzhou has been discharged from hospital, but she is still in isolation with her family. So that's a little bit of positive news that has come out recently. The first person in this cluster has since been released from hospital or discharged from hospital and is now isolating with her family. But people are still slightly nervous at the moment, obviously, in Guangzhou, because Guangzhou really did a great job of controlling COVID-19, you know, back in 2020, and the numbers were extremely low province-wide. There was just over 1,000 cases recorded in total, which is incredible once again when I put it into perspective and remind you that this province has a population of around 100 million people, above 100 million people. So when there's 1,000 or so cases in such a populated area, it shows that the measures that were implemented here in Guangdong were effective. So I think this latest minor outbreak really caught everybody in Guangzhou off guard, because we had been living almost in the twilight zone, basically, because we could see that the rest of the world was struggling with COVID-19, and obviously personally I was really concerned about family and friends back home, especially when I would watch the news and learn about new cases that were popping up here and there in Australia, and obviously friends in other countries such as the United States, Canada, the UK, all of these countries. And so for a while there, I think people in Guangzhou got a little bit relaxed because we felt like we had it in the bag. We put in the hard work of going through that period where most people were not in lockdown, but most people were working from home, staying at home, avoiding large gatherings, and then things slowly started to relax again. But now we have to deal with this latest outbreak. But for those of you who don't know, my day job is as a reporter and a presenter for the local television station here in Guangzhou. Actually, it's the provincial television station, Guangdong Television, Guangdong Radio and Television. Yeah, thank you, Mikey. Guangzhou will definitely get better. So I've been keeping up with the numbers every day, and I've been conducting interviews, going to the hospitals and everything like that to understand the situation. And from what I can see, things are getting much better. Thank you, Mikey. I appreciate it. I hope you are also safe and healthy where you are as well. So as I said today, Guangdong, the entire province, recorded 4 cases, but it was only a couple of days ago where we were reporting that there were 8 new reported cases. So the numbers are slowly going down, which is a promising sign, and hopefully that trend will continue. Hello, Alistair. Great to see that only 4 cases in Victoria. I understand what you guys are going through slightly. I'm not under lockdown, as you can see. Life is still continuing. People are still going about their daily lives here. But you can probably notice that everybody is wearing a mask. Everyone is wearing a mask. So a little while ago in Guangzhou, you could see the odd person that wasn't wearing a mask, mainly outdoors, because there was a time when the medical advice that masks were no longer necessary outdoors in well-ventilated spaces. but now everybody is wearing a mask basically 24/7 whenever they go out, especially indoors. So when I go to work, everybody's keeping their masks on while they're at their computers. You know, I only take my mask off when it's time to present the news, and then as soon as, you know, the show ends, I put my mask straight back on, because obviously it's better to be safe rather than sorry. But I do have to commend you know, the authorities here in Guangzhou for what they've done, because it's actually been really incredible just how fast everything has been mobilized. As I mentioned earlier, 20 million, sorry, I just tripped on something on the street. As I mentioned earlier, 20 million nucleic acid tests were conducted in a matter of days in Guangzhou. So basically everybody in Guangzhou has been tested, but the testing is still continuing, and this is why. There was a case reported in an international arrival, and he had gone through the 12+7 quarantine process, which basically means 14+7 process, which basically means you spend 14 days in hotel quarantine, and then you spend 7 days at home under community management. And so during that time he had taken 11 nucleic acid tests, and it was only until the 12th nucleic acid test that individual actually tested positive for COVID-19. So that is why testing is still continuing, because we now know that this Delta strain of COVID-19 is unpredictable. Typically it is more contagious and it infects people faster than other strains of COVID-19, but sometimes it can be sneaky. So it managed to avoid 11 COVID-19 tests, and Zhejiang is the border with Macau. No, so I'm in Guangzhou. Macau is about, I would say, about an hour's train ride away from here to Zhuhai, and then from Zhuhai you can cross the border to Macau. But also Macau has strengthened its border controls for people entering Macau from Guangdong Province, mainly due to the fact that there has been this small outbreak here in Guangdong, and Macau has not seen a single case since last year. So the Macau Special Administrative Region has done a really good job at controlling COVID-19 and also keeping the city safe. Obviously, I have felt very safe here in Guangzhou this entire time in regards to COVID-19, because even though, you know, there were no local cases for such a long time, people were still checking temperatures everywhere you went. Most people were still wearing masks. You had to get your temperature checked to enter any public spaces such as shopping malls, cinemas and everything like that. But now I'll update you on what's actually happening here in Guangzhou. So Tianhe district, the district that I'm in now, is still allowing dine-in services for restaurants. But as far as I'm aware, basically Tianhe district is the only district in Guangzhou that is currently allowing dine-in services. I could be wrong, but I believe most of the other districts in Guangzhou have suspended dine-in services at restaurants, and also across the entire city, all enclosed entertainment venues have suspended services. So cinemas are shut, karaoke's are shut, internet cafes are shut. So basically everybody is relying on deliveries and takeout. So in those districts of Guangzhou, such as Huadu district, which today just announced that they were suspending dine-in services, and Yueshou district, which announced they were suspending dine-in services either yesterday or the day before. In those districts, people are relying on deliveries or takeout. So you can choose between getting your food delivered to wherever you live or work, or ordering the food and picking it up from the restaurant. You just can't dine in the restaurant. And another interesting rule that was just announced today for Tianhe district, the district that I'm currently in, is that all restaurants need to register their customers. They also need to get all of their customers to scan a QR code, show their health code to make sure that it's green, and also they need to enforce mask wearing. So patrons at restaurants need to wear their masks all the time unless they are eating or drinking. So basically the rule is, if I go into a restaurant and sit down at a table, I can't take off my mask until my meal arrives on my table and I start eating it. Or if I get a drink delivered, I can't take off my mask until I start to drink that beverage. And then as soon as it's finished, the mask needs to go back on. And they've said that they will be enforcing that rule quite stringently. So the reason why dine-in services are still allowed here in Tianhe district is because every resident in Tianhe district has been tested for COVID-19 and there were no negative results from those tests. So currently I'm feeling, very safe still here in Tianhe district of Guangzhou. I would definitely avoid some of the hotspot areas in Guangzhou, such as Liwan district, which is where most of the cases have been identified. Other districts, such as Yueshou district, those are places where people from Liwan district went. I guess you would call them exposure sites. So that is why, people are being so careful in other districts, because previously people who were ultimately confirmed as having COVID-19, they visited those areas of the city, and that's why, dine-in services have been suspended. I'll just turn the camera around if I can figure out how to do that, and I can show you this entrance to this shopping mall. Basically, to enter, you need to scan a QR code, you need to show the security guard that you have a green health code, and then you are allowed in. If your health code is either yellow or red, if it's red, then you're definitely in trouble, because you need to go straight to the hospital and straight into isolation. If it's yellow, it means you need to have a COVID test done twice, 72 hours apart, and then after that your code will go back to being green, and then you can go about daily life again. So those health codes basically are extremely important here in China at the moment, especially in Guangzhou, if you want to go about your daily life. So everybody is constantly checking their health codes to make sure that they are still green. Luckily mine is green, and I hope it stays that way. My nucleic acid test result should be released either tonight or by the time I wake up tomorrow morning, and fingers crossed that it is negative. I'm almost 100% positive that it will be negative, but you never know, so it's always best to say, err on the side of caution, which is why, as you can see while I'm walking in the street, I'm trying to maintain social distancing between myself and others. But I'll turn the camera around again so you can just see that everybody here in Tianhe district, everybody is wearing a mask. It's basically been like that for months. It was quite rare to see people here in Tianhe district not wearing masks. nice clouds today. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of people are relying on delivery services, which is why there are so many of these Waimai 小哥 waiting outside the restaurants of this shopping mall. Now, if you ask me how I would describe the feeling in Guangzhou at the moment, I would say that most people are alert but not alarmed. So, I mean, compared to 2020, when I've returned to Guangzhou from Brisbane, you know, I returned basically to a ghost city. And, you know, you couldn't help but feel a little bit afraid just because things were so different to what you were used to. But currently here in Guangzhou, apart from everybody wearing a mask and the additional safety measures, life just feels relatively normal. So, and obviously apart from having to work at home today, because I received that text message, apart from that, you know, life is relatively normal. Now there are a few other things for people to be aware of. If you are headed to the Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport to take any flight, whether that's international or domestic, then you need to get a nucleic acid test, and that test result needs to be valid for 48 hours, is only valid for 48 hours. So basically you need to show your green health code and your nucleic acid test result to gain entry to the terminal of the airport. That's also the same for train stations and coach stations, regardless of whether you're going abroad or going to another city in China. And also, from my experience, if you follow my YouTube channel, you'll know that I went to Beijing a couple of weeks ago, and at that time, you know, the situation was not that serious, and there wasn't a need for the nucleic acid test results to enter the airport or to leave the province. But now you do need that, and at that time when I did go to Beijing, the hotel in Beijing needed that negative nucleic acid test result for me to check into the hotel. So here in China, because it's such a large country, there are rules and regulations in each province and in each city. So if you're currently in China and you need to move around and you're in Guangdong Province, then definitely check what the rules and regulations are in the destination city that you are headed to. And also please just, you know, comply with all of the measures, all of the preventative measures, because even if you don't have symptoms, it doesn't mean that it's 100% guaranteed that you don't have COVID-19. So if you receive a text message like I did, asking you to go and get a COVID test, please do. Even though it may be an inconvenience, or you may have been tested 3 or 4 days ago, I think it's best to be safe rather than sorry. So yeah, please go and get tested, and then we can keep the whole community safe. Everybody can go back to normal life as soon as possible. But once again, as you can see here in Tianhe district, things are quite normal, and life goes on. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to leave questions and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. I'll just reiterate some of the numbers that I told you earlier. As of 2 days ago, Guangzhou City had conducted 20 million COVID-19 tests. The adjacent city Foshan had conducted 10 million tests, and the city of Zhongshan, as of today, had conducted 6 million tests. Sorry, I just saw a Thanks for the Guangzhou update, Hazza. Being your neighbor, I'm interested. Thank you, Wu Jiao, for the support. Actually, to be honest, I haven't experienced any form of discrimination in Guangzhou over the last couple of weeks. I've just been going about life as per usual, hanging out with my friends, going to restaurants, and I had, you know, taxis all stopped for me, and I haven't experienced any discrimination at all. So I hope that answers your question. Also, another figure that was just released today is that China has now administered 800 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines across the country, which is a staggering amount. Obviously, that doesn't mean that 800 million people are fully vaccinated, because a lot of people have only received their first dose. But the number of people that have received 2 doses is constantly increasing, and they estimate that by towards the end of the year, 70% of the target population should be fully inoculated against COVID-19. So, you know, that's also promising. So the vaccination rate is quite high. Also here in Guangzhou, the vaccination rate is quite high as well, which is why I think that this small outbreak will be brought under control, you know, fairly quickly, because a lot of people have built up at least a bit of immunity to COVID-19, and studies have shown that the vaccines that have been used here in Guangzhou are still effective against the Delta virus. So mainly the people of concern are people that have not been vaccinated, or people who have come into direct contact for long periods of time with people that have been diagnosed with COVID-19, purely because no vaccines available at the moment are 100% effective. So no vaccine available at the moment has an efficacy rate of 100%, including Chinese vaccines. So the vaccines have probably helped to make sure that this outbreak was a minor outbreak. As you can see, I'm sweating a little bit. It's over 30 degrees here in Guangzhou today, even though it's coming on 5 p.m. It's still really hot. But the fact that they managed to roll out the vaccines really quickly also, I believe, has helped to make sure that this outbreak has been kept localized. As I said earlier, most of the cases are in Liwan district of Guangzhou. So yeah, positive signs are that no one in Tianhe district so far has tested positive. The district that I'm living in, the 10 million results that were conducted in Foshan returned no negative results. The 6 million tests that were conducted in Zhongshan returned no negative results. It's a little bit hard for me to remember all the precise numbers and everything like that. I'm trying to share as much information as possible, but there are obviously people in the comments are questioning whether those numbers are credible, and from my personal opinion, I believe that they are, because I think that it is important for the government in Guangzhou to make sure that they get this right, that they nip it in the bud. Obviously this time around it's a little bit different because it's the Delta virus. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the World Health Organization recently, they just updated the names for the variants that people should use. So the Delta variant is one of the more contagious variants, and it was the variant that was first identified in India. But you know, obviously I don't like to refer to variants or strains of viruses geographically, because I think that's, you know, slightly discriminatory against people from that place. So I agree with the World Health Organization's decision to rename those variants. So yeah, this time it's a little bit different. We're facing the Delta variant, but so far so good. The numbers have been kept low. The city is certainly not under lockdown. They have implemented some very strict measures. As I mentioned earlier, most districts in Guangzhou are not allowing dine-in services currently. In Zhujiang, and life is mainly continuing as normal here in Guangzhou, apart from the stricter measurements that we need to abide by. Hello from Yueshou district. How are things in Yueshou? Thank you for your question. I have spoken about that before, and I'm not connected to that in any way, shape or form, so I have no information to provide, and also I have no comment to give on that. So I hope that is a satisfactory answer for you. So yeah, hopefully in 2 weeks time or a week's time I can do another live vlog. I can walk around Guangzhou and tell you that everything has returned 100% to normal. So fingers crossed for that. But for now, you know, all we can do is just abide by the measures that have been put in place and hope for the best. And I'm remaining positive. I said in a reply to a tweet today that in this situation, it's one of the only situations where I would rather be negative than positive, because usually I'm a fairly positive person, but I'm happy to remain negative, especially when it comes to COVID-19 and COVID-19 tests. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope this has been an informative broadcast. I tried to share as much information as I possibly could with you. I think just to end the stream, I just want to make it clear that Guangzhou is not in lockdown. As you know, some people have said, the city is not in lockdown, but there has been a minor outbreak and there are strict measures in place to make sure that it stays a minor outbreak. So thank you very much for all being here and for watching today. I really appreciate it, and I hope wherever you are in the world that you're all safe, happy and healthy. And yeah, I'll see you next time. I'll end this live stream once again by giving you a little look once again at the Tianhe CBD and this intersection, which is one of the craziest intersections in Guangzhou. And I have a great video because I used to live in this building right here, so I have a great video of this intersection during rush hours and also during bad weather. So maybe one day I'll share that with you guys in a future video. But anyway, thank you once again for watching. Obviously, well, I'm sweating all over the place. It's a really hot day here. Thank you for supporting my first ever walk and talk live stream outside. So kind of person that likes to take things step by step. I have done one live stream before, but that was at home. Today is the first time that I'm out and about walking around the city doing a live stream. So once again, thank you everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and if you could, give this video a like and perhaps share it with your friends if they have questions about Guangzhou and the current situation here. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.